is a genetic disease that causes persistent lung infections and progressively.
Closer. Closer to your mouth.
That's okay. Yeah. Start over. Cystic fibrosis is a genetic disease that causes persistent lung infections and progressively limits the ability to breathe. A defective gene causes a thick buildup of mucus in the lungs, pancreas, and other organs. The mucus clogs airways and traps bacteria, leading to lung infections, extensive lung damage, and eventually respiratory failure. That's the medical description for CF. However, it is so much more than that. CF is ugly, it's mean, it's relentless. It is physically painful and emotionally isolating at times. It's handfuls of pills, hours of inhalations, and chest percussions to loosen the mucus every single day. It's weeks in the hospital, endless blood draws, and needle sticks, and sudden uncontrollable coughing fits. It's interrupted parties, missed school days, and canceled vacations. It's watching your friends die. It's depression, and it's often fear for your own future. Hello, my name is Lindmeier. My daughter is Carly, and she's been battling cystic fibrosis for 21 years. She was born on April 13, 1995. She just turned 21. 2 months later, she stopped gaining weight, and after several weeks of testing, we were told those daunting words: your daughter has cystic fibrosis. Talk about a shot to the heart. After a few days of emotional paralysis, I announced the pity party was over and began researching everything I could find on this very complex disease. At that time, her then doctor said that it would be about 10 years until a cure came. As far away as that seemed, I knew then that my job was to keep Carly as healthy as possible so that she would benefit from the day that the cure came. To call me a hover mother is an understatement. As I admit, and I admit that fear was a driving force in most of my actions. Aside from keeping her healthy was my need to raise a responsible, independent, and strong daughter, not a victim. One who understood all aspects of CF and what she needed to do to keep herself healthy. She watched me research, challenge the doctors, question everything, and fight for all of her needs, and to get copies of everything. I am happy to say that my efforts have paid off. And while most mothers would panic at the thought of their child moving 3,000 miles away for college, I am at peace knowing that she is fully capable of managing her health and fighting for what she needs. And she's getting copies of everything. As I mentioned, CF is relentless. I've often described it as like riding a roller coaster, blindfolded. You never see the turns coming. By 9 months, she had her first hospitalization and course of IV antibiotics. At 2.5, she had such an intense coughing fit, she broke blood vessels in her face. By age 14, she had already had so many courses of IVs that the scar tissue built up around the sites, and she had to have they couldn't access veins, so she had to have a portacath put in. That was a blessing and a curse. A blessing because she didn't have to have so many needle sticks, but the curse was that we had to realize that her CF was progressing. She's had several sinus surgeries, has CF-related diabetes, and is on an insulin pump. And she has had more than 25 courses of IV antibiotics in her 21 years. But despite all of that, she's had to endure. She's a remarkably well-adjusted and happy young lady. She's finishing up her junior year at Syracuse University. She's majoring in communication disorders, and she's She works part-time, mentoring and aiding elementary school kids, and she has a true heart for helping others. There have been many new therapies since Carly's diagnosis, but they only alleviate some of the symptoms. However, a few years ago, Vertex Pharmaceuticals developed a drug that targets the core defect in CF. That drug, called Kalydeco, though promising, only affects 4% of the CF population, roughly 1,200 patients. But still, the results were extremely promising, very hopeful. And last summer, the FDA approved the second drug in this class from Vertex, which would address close to 60 to 70% of the CF population. And Carly falls into that category. So last October, she was able to start this drug called Orcami. And it's a pill twice a day. As she navigates into adulthood, I find myself stepping back and letting her take control. I asked her recently, "How are you feeling? How's your health? Tell me everything." This was her response. "I still take all my meds every day, but it doesn't feel like I have CF anymore. All my symptoms are so mild, my lungs feel great, and my biggest complaint is stomach aches from fatty foods and drippy sinuses from the weather. Even my diabetes is just easy to deal with. It's really nice being normal." I cried. As exciting as all of this is, there is still so much work to be done. These drugs are changing the lives of CF patients, but they are not a cure. There are 30,000 in the US and 70,000 worldwide with CF, and approximately 1,000 new cases diagnosed every year. The median survival has risen to almost 40, and that is still unacceptable. And this is where you all come in. The money raised at these events like this go directly to research and develop new drugs. There are thousands of CF patients that have yet to benefit from these two new drugs, and so we need to push harder. There are too many who are losing their fight. I want to thank every one of you for being here, for helping in every way that you can. And because of that, we hope that CF will someday stand for Cure Found.